Pac-12 remains one of the most entertaining conferences in college football, and we're seeing it week in and week out. These teams continue to put on a show, and there are a lot of extremely exciting teams, explosive teams that we talk about on a frequent basis. USC is one of them, Oregon's one of them, but a team that's flying under the radar is Washington State. And this was a huge game between Washington State and Oregon State. These two teams, I think, honestly, were two underrated teams, and it was an underrated matchup in a weekend full of ranked matchups and undefeated matchups, and it did not disappoint. Washington State got off to an electric start, and Cam Ward was the big reason why. The passing attack was doing whatever they wanted, and that was really fun to watch. You're looking at a team that also didn't have Lincoln Victor, their top receiver. It didn't matter. Josh Kelly had a huge game. Kyle Williams stepped up. You had a number of guys that played big in the spotlight, and that is a promising sign for a team that I think a lot of people didn't really expect to be here. Including myself, I expected Oregon State to win this game because I expected their defense to play better than Washington State's. Now, Washington State's defense wasn't elite by any means or a shutdown, but they were still a team that you have to take seriously because they were able to be disruptive, and they did that today. Oregon State struggled to move the ball down the field because Washington State was just getting after the quarterback, making life difficult for the rushing attack. And they played exactly what I said in the preview. The way that Washington State won this game was to be able to move the ball on Oregon State's defense, and we'll talk about that in just a sec. But getting after the quarterback, tackles for loss, sacks, and that's exactly what they did. I thought they did a great job of disguising pressure, and I thought they did a great job of sending different blitz packages that Oregon State appeared not ready for, especially when you look at Oregon State's offensive line. This is an offensive line that's one of the best in college football, so you have to give them different looks. You can't just expect to beat them head up, and they did exactly that, and that's a big reason why they won this game. Now, towards the end of the game, Oregon State obviously figured some things out offensively and essentially just ran out of time to try and tie the game up. So that was definitely something that you saw Oregon State. I don't want to say what they essentially figured some things out because in the beginning, the first half, this defense could not stop Washington State to save their lives. They could not figure anything else out. They could not move the football as efficiently as they wanted to. And the second half, they played a lot better. I thought that they were able to slow down Washington State's passing attack a lot better than they did in the first half. First half, it was just like Cam Ward could do whatever he wanted. Now it helps that Cam Ward played like incarnate word Cam Ward and not like last year. At times, I think that Cam Ward is a special player who has a future in the NFL, and we saw that tonight. We saw his ability to not only make big plays with his arm, but to escape the pocket when there's pressure. And Oregon State has a really good defense. Washington State made them look kind of silly. I think that they were able to move the ball really efficiently and explosively down the field, and it carved up that Oregon State pass defense. I think that the Beavers defense did wake up in the second half. They found a way to slow down the Washington State passing attack, but it was almost like too little too late. You created yourself a deficit that was too tough to come back from and ultimately cost you in the game if you're Oregon State. Now, I will say DJ Uiagalelei was not involved very much in the rushing attack early on, especially in the first half. I believe had -5 yards rushing in the first half. But then they got him involved more in the second half, and I think that's what built his confidence. The frustrating thing with DJ is it almost seems like he needs permission to go out and be great or to make these big throws. And we didn't see him do a lot of exciting things until late in the second half. And again, it was almost like too little too late. So you'd really like to see him open that up more and play with a little more confidence without almost needing permission to do that or needing a deficit to do that. You can play with a ton of confidence and get your team up in a lead or compete with a team like Washington State that's going to put up points because we saw in the second half, Oregon State can move the ball explosively. They can make big plays. And yes, you could make an argument that some of that is prevent defense from Washington State, but I think Oregon State's offense is capable of moving the ball. And if anything, they learned one, you cannot give up a deficit like that, but two, your offense can move the ball more explosively and faster than you think. I think that that was one of the biggest things I learned was DJ can make those big throws. The receivers can make big plays. It's just a matter of doing that more often. Yes, you want to be efficient. That's kind of your identity, is not exactly trying to win a absolute shootout, but you can find ways to put points up on the scoreboard in a hurry. And that really is what stands out to me because this defense should be fine. Yes, it was a poor performance for a half, but you saw them bounce back and they found ways to slow down Washington State. And like I said, kind of just ran out of time, unfortunately. So that's probably the biggest thing there. Cam Ward, like I said, a big game for him. Almost had 300 yards in the first half, finishes with 404 yards and four touchdowns. DJ 198 yards, most of that coming in the second half as a passer, but 61 yards and a touchdown on the ground. So I think that there's good things for both sides. Washington State is the forgotten team in the Pac-12 and probably still will be given that USC, Washington, and Oregon all continue to play the way that they're playing. But I think that you're looking at a Washington State team that can compete with the best of the best. The rivalry game against Washington obviously will create a lot of excitement. That will be a close game. A game against Oregon should be another one that will be interesting. But this is a team that proves they can play with some really good teams. If you're able to move the football like they did, I think the biggest thing for them was finding that Josh Kelly is another go-to guy, or the fact that you have a lot of other talented players at wide receiver that can make plays. Nakia Watson's also really good out of the backfield. You have so many playmakers on this offense that you don't need to rely on just one player. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. Cam Ward has a lot of options, and that's really exciting. For Oregon State, find a way to just give your offense more confidence and not put a lot of pressure on your defense to do everything. If they're able to do that, that's really exciting. If not, then you're looking at a longer season, especially in a conference that's full of loaded teams that can put up points in a hurry.